Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about, different types of research. I'm just kind of following the kind of the headings in the book. These are honestly in some way a little bit random, but I just want to kind of give examples for each of the major research methods mentioned in the book. So I'll start talking a little bit about retailing research. So imagine if you are Walmart and you want to situate a new store. You've got to think about a few things. You've got to think about the infrastructure, the freeway network, how you can get your goods to the store. You need to think a little bit about the demographics of the area. Walmarts typically do well in lower middle class areas. They don't tend to do, in fact, if you want to locate a Walmart in an incredibly wealthy area, i.e., the land is probably going to cost you too much for the size of the Walmart store, but people are going to be protesting your store because they do not think that a Walmart would fit into your particular area. And you can do that, you could do that. You can do some marketing research. You could look at things like, shopping patterns. You can do a competitive analysis. There's lots of different types of research that you can do. Just to kind of give you a quick example. So this is ArcGIS. What ArcGIS is, it's what's called a geographic information system, which is something we should actually do more of in marketing, but tends to be taught by geography departments in universities. And what it does is it allows you to put information on maps. So we're looking at existing retailers. This is in the Milwaukee area, and we're looking at kind of some information and some kind of reviews for each of these retailers. So here's Wells Fargo. You could actually, if this was something I did a long, long time ago when I actually lived in Milwaukee, I could have maybe colored these by the market segment, supermarkets in one color, bars in another color, etc., etc. But you can get some idea that you've got business information laid on top of kind of a geographical area. So that was just like a really basic example of GIS. To give you another example, this is kind of going on to a little bit of market segmentation. I'll talk about this in a moment. This is actually Claritas. And what Claritas do, they have a segmentation product mainly used for things like retailing research, where you could look at like different demographics in neighborhoods. So they just put a zip code lookup. This is 39759, just submit it. And you can see it's our friend Starkville. And you can you can look a little bit about the different consumer segments that exist in this market. So again, Walmart probably know that they have certain segments are better for Walmart than other segments. So we could look at these different kind of these different segments, and then we could actually get more information on the actual segments. My internet's taking a while today. A little bit more about their spending habits. Here we are. Owns a Chevy, eats at Hardee's, shops at Dollar General's, interested in Supercross, flies Allegiant Air. A little bit stereotype. We have something about neighborhood demographics, which is only available to premium subscribers. But we generally have, information on consumer groups within a certain geographical neighborhood. Okay, so the next little thing is behavioral targeting. So imagine, I think I talked about Oreos last class, for those of people who were there. And the fact that I don't generally buy Oreos, but I had usually the presentations at the end of the class, I buy pizza, but unfortunately I had like an early morning class and, I think I never even consider buying breakfast pizza because I think that's just not a good thing. So I just got some Oreos for the class. And I don't usually buy Oreos, but I went to Walmart and bought about, about 7 or 8 big boxes of Oreos. And as soon as I did that, then I started getting adverts for Oreos when I surfed the web. So quite often, behavioral targeting, this is any sort of targeting of a consumer based on their behavior. So we could have things like, promotions based on a supermarket scanner data, what you actually buy, that's your behavior. Your surfing behavior. things like what activities you engage in. That's why you have to be wary about these, Apple Watches and Fitbits, because that if you click the wrong box, then that information is going somewhere and people are trying to get a profile of you. And, so if I buy some Oreos, suddenly people decide I'm interested in Oreos if I surf for them. Something special, specific, this from the book, is actually a specific type of behavioral targeting called retargeting. So imagine I have my Oreos in my shopping basket in Amazon, so I have 10 packs in Amazon. But then I change my mind and don't actually buy, then I'm liable to get some targeted advert trying to persuade me to buy. Because if I've already shown that I'm interested in something, I almost bought it, I looked at it on an online shopping site, and I even maybe put it in my basket, then an advert is much more likely to work on me than some other person. So the final thing is shopping research. And the one thing I'd say about shopper marketing and shopping research is that this is such kind of a wide kind of area. There's so many different things we can do with consumers, looking at how they, say, for example, in a retail context, looking at how often they shop, looking at their customer satisfaction when they go into a store. Just one more example here. So this is like a little bit of marketing research where we get put kind of eye trackers on people, and then we look at what products they're looking at in the store. So shopper marketing can be really, really really kind of wide ranging. It's basically anywhere that you as a company interact with the shopper, so what they view on the shelves. This might affect our promotions. It might affect our shelf spacing, how they pay. Do they use the self-checkout, or do they use the normal checkout? How satisfied they are with the experience, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what I keep trying to talk about, segmentation, because this is kind of my area of research. But let's actually go back to our video game example for talking about segmentation. Okay, let's just do another little snip. And just think, segmentation is really just what I would call grouping. And we're going to be, let's just think about our groups of, people who can are interested in video games. We would potentially have our core gamers. These may be 18 to 34, predominantly male, and they were going to be using it to socialize, to relax, and to show skill, kind of as a competitive thing. We also maybe have more, family gamers. We want things like Mario, maybe puzzle games for the kids, something educational. Basically anything that would be kind of utilized by a family, maybe with young kids. Then we'd have maybe a more activity-oriented segment. And they'd use what originally was the Wii, but kind of they would use for exercise. To help build coordination. And then finally, probably overlap with the core gamers, but we'd have competitive gamers, people who do it for a living. And again, there'll be show skill, but we have things like, win prizes, show skill. And this is people we know. It's more of kind of a lifestyle. They're gamers. Now, when we make these segments, we do them based on what we call, and this is maybe a little bit because I get excited about segmentation, maybe a little bit beyond what we need from the book, but segmentation bases. This is what you actually segment on. So, you know, we could do it on demographics. Such as age, gender. We could do it on maybe lifestyle. You know, how often you exercise. Do you go to the gym or go to the club, etc., gym membership, etc.? Whether you dine out. And, you know, it could be things like, you know, shopping actual behavior. So things like, you know, do you go for kind of cheap versus luxury? For this, it would be kind of, you know, previous games bought, so previous games. Am I buying family-friendly games, or am I buying games where I just want to shoot everybody? Grand Theft Auto and stuff. So there's lots of different things we can actually segment on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of give you a quick example. I actually usually prefer to do this in the class, but let's just have a non-video game segmentation example. Let's just get my pen. Let's do the black pen. So let's just do retail stores. And we're going to have price from low to high. And then we're going to have trendiness. I don't know if that's probably a bad name, but never mind. You know, how maybe our youth appeal or things like that. It's like, you know, so we'd have something maybe Sears. I think there's still a few Sears surviving, which has low trendiness and low price. Maybe we'd have Macy's. JCPenney was probably a little bit less trendy than Macy's. Let's have maybe trendiness, but a bit pricier, Lululemon. We'd have Banana Republic, maybe mid-market. And remember, I'm kind of a quant person, so I don't know anything at all about fashion. Urban Outfitters. Then we'd have maybe Nordstrom. Coach. And then maybe we could have some, you know, fast fashion, a bit like, you know, H&M. Topshop, which is a bit more trendy. You might not think so. And then what we could actually do is we've put these on these two segmentation bases. We could say, okay, you know, this is my middle of the market. This is kind of my high-end trendy. This is my basic department stores. This is my fast fashion. So we can actually do it to segments based on these segmentation bases. So that's just my kind of example of a segmentation. Okay, and after my favorite thing, and so we have a few more examples of segmentation here. This was actually pretty cool. This is actually from the international marketing textbook I've taught out of. And this was like, it was Budweiser in Peru. This is quite an old example, but we have different kind of consumer groups. So we have, and A, B, C, D, E isn't used much in America. I know it's used in the UK, but it's like A and B are the professional classes, C is skilled laborers, D is unskilled laborers, E is kind of the bottom of the pile. I don't think in the US we like using this type of segmentation. We've also got age groups, we've got gender, and then we're looking actually kind of some more, so we've got demographics, social demographics. We've also got behavior here, when people actually drink. And then we've kind of split up into different segments by that. So we have this segment here of um, ABs, so probably high income young professionals um, who kind of, they consume Budweiser out of the home at bars and at nights as well, weekday nights as well. So then that's just an example of a segmentation. And this is a little bit out of date, but it's a really general consumer segmentation. So it's pretty kind of cool. And again, we have these two different segmentation bases. One based on whether somebody's rational to more aspirational. Rational, I kind of get something that's most useful for me, and aspirational, it's like I want something cool, I want something to show that I'm wealthy. And we also have low involvement to high involvement, people who are really focused on new technology and want to be, engaging with the brands, to people who just honestly really don't care. So we've gone from technology leader, technology stylist, young explorers at one end, and then we go down to simplicity seekers at the bottom end. So this is a little bit out of date, but I think most of these segments, would apply to the modern generation of smartphones. Despite teaching tech subjects, I always pretty much just go for the basic $100 Samsung. As long as my phone's got a decent camera, I really don't care too much about it. Okay, so the last little bit about consumers and markets is a few different types of research. Now, equally useful to quant research is ethnographic research. And as I said, this is just completely and utterly out of my area. But let's just kind of give some examples. So there's a festival every year called Burning Man. If I want to understand festival goers, now obviously, I would not be somebody who could probably do this at Burning Man. But if you would say you were your first job out of university and you want to understand people who go to festivals, you would just attend the festival. You would interact, you'd be part of the social groups and take notes about, how people consume different products. What do people wear? What are their fashion choices? And the idea with ethnic research is it's, you're going to be, it can be more biased than quant research because you're not worried about controlling for everything. But, you can sometimes get more insight from the consumers. Another example is we could look at a specific youth culture. So we could have, for example, emo culture. And maybe I'm just dating myself with this example. If I was doing this in a class context, I would ask you for, some youth cultures. But we could kind of, it's hard to survey this. So again, we would engage with the group. Even as far as sometimes ethnographic researchers will sometimes even live with their subjects. So, if you're examining a family's shopping habits, you would actually, have a room in the basement and observe them consuming. So engage with the zoo, interact, experience the culture. And then on the other side, we have marketing theory, and marketing theory is really just a little bit about what academic behavioral marketers do, and how that can actually, some of the experiments they do, and actually how that would impact how we promote products, how we deal with consumers. So just give a few examples. So there's a theory that says, a little luxury compensates for lack of status. So for loss of status. So say we have a big recession and you can't afford, that expensive car, or that, or that you have to sell your boat because you're worried about your job. So you have to kind of cut your belt a little bit. You may want maybe a few little luxury products. So you may want some, if you're picking a wine, you may have a luxury wine, you may have luxury chocolates. to kind of compensate for this lack of status. Another thing is perceived fairness. Affects service recovery. Okay, that was a bit of a mouthful. But service recovery, that just means something's gone wrong. So like Southwest last year, all their computer systems melt down and people were left stranded everywhere. If people perceive that you've done your best to mitigate this and give you a fair outcome, give you vouchers, give you free flights, then you will recover quicker, more consumers will trust you again. It's kind of almost common sense after your kind of service problem. So that's kind of service thingy. And then price perceptions. Are lower with a coupon than a rebate. So if you offer like a $10 off coupon, or you have people buy and then you try and get a rebate $10 later, people would perceive the price with the coupon as lower. And a lot of retailers, for example, I was in Wisconsin recently again, Kohl's works very much on that kind of couponing strategy to get people to buy the products. Okay, so that's just going a little bit more about, I started off, I gave some quant marketing examples. We talked a little bit about segmentation. We talked about these different types of retailing, behavioral research, and shopper research. And we finished up with the stuff that's kind of out of my area with the ethnographic research. And we also talked a little bit about what academic marketers do in generating marketing theory.